Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. It has become apparent over the last few weeks that this is a Labor government of old, not of Hawke or Keating or Curtin, but of the disastrous Rudd-Gillard-Rudd days. Labor has been marred by cabinet leaks, indecision and warring cabinet ministers. And this has culminated in the latest failure, domestic gas policy. They have shot themselves in the foot and now they're complaining it hurts. Back in September, after the Jobs and Skills Summit, the Prime Minister unequivocally ruled out any thought of a new mining tax. And yet, less than 2 weeks ago, it was leaked that this was back on the table. Another broken promise from a broken government. It is Mining Tax 2.0. Labor's own budget has forecast gas and electricity price increases of over 40% and 50% over the next 2 years. And what was their solution? Well, it was to cut critical funding to projects designed to provide more gas supply. And in the October budget, they axed the Beetaloo Cooperative Drilling Program, a program designed to secure gas supply from the Beetaloo Basin, a basin that could supply over 200,000 petajoules of gas. That's 200 years' worth of supply. And in that same budget, they also slashed more than half of the funding for the Cooper-Adavale Basin plan. Over $30 million allocated to increase domestic gas supplies was gutted, further stranding investors trying to increase our domestic gas supply. And to make matters worse, Labor has showered green lawfare officers like the Environmental Defenders Office and Environmental Justice Australia with almost $10 billion in handouts. What we have is a government in crisis. Labor has no plan to address cost of living, no plan to address rising electricity prices, and no plan to address rising electricity prices. All we have are thought bubbles. And furthermore, state governments that are now baying for reservations, price caps and government interventions are the same states that have locked gas away, reducing supply to the domestic market. The hypocrisy is astounding, for it will not be states like Victoria who suffer under a price cap or resources tax. It will be states like Western Australia and Queensland who already produce gas for domestic users. Yet instead of working to get more gas out of the ground to help Australian families and industries, Labor is instead laying siege to the resources sector from all sides. Mining companies are now warning that up to 33,000 jobs are at risk from a potential new Mining Tax 2.0 from Labor, as well as their irresponsible industrial relations legislation. That would imperil projects valued at up to $77 billion, spreading investment, uncertainty and contagion. The mining sector has identified 140 projects subject to pre-final investment decisions that would be at risk from new taxes and ill-thought-through industrial relations changes. And more broadly, with Labor reviewing the EPBC and creating additional barriers for approvals, there is now potentially up to $100 billion in investments and 174,000 jobs now at risk, with the Environment Minister's politically charged project reviews. Now, we know that the surest way to secure affordable, reliable gas is through increasing supply. The Coalition knows this. Minister King knows this. Unfortunately, some of her cabinet colleagues cannot fathom the thought of investing in gas supply. The Coalition developed our Strategic Basins program to target projects that brought domestic gas supply online, projects in the Beetaloo, Cooper, Adavale, North Bowen and Galilee. And these projects were backed by industry and with government support had the potential to bring hundreds of petajoules of gas to market. The Coalition invested over $360 million in our Strategic Basin Plan and National Gas Infrastructure projects. Funding to ensure Australian households, consumers and manufacturers have access to affordable gas. Gas is and will continue to be a necessity for decades to come through power generation, for manufacturing, industry, agriculture and energy transitions. Labor needs to stop their internal bickering and guarantee more gas supply now.